Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Executive Compass. This is where we get insights from executive firm founders. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you joining this podcast, I'm Amisha Srimankar, founder of Vectra Growth Partners, and we specialize in helping executive firms scale their revenue in 12 months. Today's guest is Peter Hayer, founder and CEO of Hayer Expectations. Hi, Peter. Thanks so much for joining.
Well, Misha, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me. And here's what I'll help with, so don't worry about editing or anything. So my name is actually Peter Hayer, and my middle initial is I, so it makes so much sense that I would be a recruiter. Peter I Hayer. The name of the firm is Hayer Expectations, because that's our true core belief, is that hiring should have, a very, very much higher expectation because it's most companies' number one asset is their people.
I agree. I totally agree. And thank you for that. I love it.
Yeah.
Peter I Hire. How wonderful. It's like you were meant to do this.
Apparently this is true. Yeah, I've been in recruiting for, I know it's hard to believe, but probably at least 30 years. I started when I was 5. And I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've had opportunities. So as I started my firm, I've been recruiting for a long time. Large corporations, state government, federal government, Fortune 50 companies, the Deloittes, the Accentures, the Lockheed Martins, the LinkedIns
Hmm.
of the world. And what I found is most of those companies have large built-in teams. I mean, you're not the only recruiter. You've got a staff of 50 or 100. And what I found was the experience on the other side of the table, the candidate side, is less than, what it should be, at least in my belief. I
Hmm.
felt, you want to court, you want to make people feel special, you want to make them feel like it's a limited engagement and invite them. And many of those large firms have such processes and procedures that you can't steer the Titanic with a spoon, right?
Hmm.
So what I just couldn't take it in my core. I said I don't believe it should be that way. I think it should literally be a wonderful um, opportunity for me to invite Amisha to a conversation. I see what you're doing in the marketplace. You're amazing. Would you want to ever consider taking a look at something else where you might be able to use A, B, and C skills? So that was sort of my core belief, is to make it a much more flexible process, thus engaging the candidates, giving your value proposition as a company, and then making it not take 4 to 6 to 8 weeks to do it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's the core of how I started and what I believe in today. And I don't think that core has changed terribly much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds really interesting. Can you tell me how did you land from, and you said you worked with all the big firms, and what did you, and I think you touched a little bit upon this, that was what you think was broken in the traditional hiring model that you wanted
Right,
to fix for small
right.
and medium-sized businesses. How did you land on that space, that niche?
Well, what I found was, I mean, yes, companies can still call me and for contract work, and many may. But what I found was there is a niche in the marketplace, and probably the largest growing part of the economy is small to medium sized companies. And
100%.
so, as you take a look at the last 5 years since COVID and now the introduction of AI, which I'm sure you'll get into, but when technology changes, people are just brilliant. And what they found during COVID was, I've got a better idea. I've got a cool company. I've got a software. I think, my company's doing well. We're going to get a large project. We're going to merge with somebody else. And so what I found was those companies that have great ideas have smaller teams, 1 to 50, 1 to 200 people. and they don't necessarily have a dedicated recruiting team. And yes, they may have someone who has been dedicated to human resources, and we all hope, blessed, that they are HR professionals with all the certifications, so you're not in hot water. But the recruiting part is always been an uncomfortable portion of that HR channel, and so my hope was to be able to let entrepreneurs, sales execs, COOs continue, run your business, manage it, take care of your people. But what I found was most of the C-level are awesome at what they do, but they do not know how to sell or add value to the recruiting process. So my value was to come in, you keep doing what you're doing, making things happen, keeping your C-level people and your venture capitalists and your board of directors happy, and heaven forbid you just manage the heck out of your company and lead them. Let me go find that squirrel or the unicorn on top of the mountain, and let me bring them to you, having already known your company, found out the value adds, the culture fits, because that's it. It's the culture fits where we miss. The big companies can churn, new programmers and developers into the system, and they'll spit out some, and some will stay. But the small to medium-sized companies don't really have that. And so what I offer them is an opportunity to have sort of a white glove concierge. Oh, go get me one of these. Happy to do that. Let's do it.
No, that sounds quite a interesting value proposition, and I think it's clearly working for you and the businesses that you work with. How, and in your 30 years, I mean, how many years has it been for you? Has it been, I take it, post-COVID that you got into the space? Longer? What would you say?
Yeah, it was. I probably started in 2016. Just because some of the work I had done in the intelligence community and the DoD, and I saw, what the potential was and who doesn't have Alexa at home, and I saw what was happening, and that this could be a niche in the industry where many companies don't have the kind of data that a Meta has or a LinkedIn has. They don't have that kind of data. So do they need a data scientist? They might. Most of them need people that can move the data and put it into places where your board of directors can see it and your customers can see it, and which app do they want to put it on here, because everybody walks around with this right in their face.
Yes.
And so that's what I found, is that many companies need just some really good developers and people that understand large language models and all of the iterations that AI is becoming.
Yeah. And as opposed to a traditional hiring model, when you come to work with these companies, what is that from the start of, they say, Peter, we want to hire somebody, from that point until filling that position in, how long does that period take typically?
Well, I would say a month, but if we break it down into, the data gathering, I want to, we've agreed that maybe we've developed trust and that you believe I have the ability to bring you the person you need. So it's finding out much more. This generally isn't the first person you've hired. What happened to the others? Where are the bodies? Let's do some deep forensic real quick. And then find out, because I'm not going to go out to, the boards and post something, because you don't need any truck drivers or, warehouse workers or whatever. You may, but chances are those are the people that are looking on the boards. You need the person that's in the building or in their nice home office that's happy doing what they're doing. They aren't looking, they aren't on the boards. They're happy doing what they're doing. And so for me, tapping them on the shoulder and say, I have something that might be intriguing to you. And so that understanding period will be, generally a week or so. Then we start, where are the purple squirrels? we start that, process of diving in and learning more and finding out where the pools of talents lie. You know, after COVID, as you'd mentioned, there are so many different models now. Companies are so, there's two or three things that I would mention is since COVID, we've learned that we don't need to go into the office, but some have an infrastructure and they want you in the office. And for some people, that's a perfect fit. But the remote, the on-site, the, hybrid models are really what's popular now. And then why do they have to come in? And then the other problem I'm seeing is, well, my competitor, Mr. XYZ company, they just put out a position for a data guru. And I said, okay, that's a clever, super neat term. I hope, they and Yoda find a place to talk to one another. However, there's not a data guru. Let's dive. What do they need to have to perform the function that you need and be able to fit in to the rest of the people that are working in your company? There are no people out there that are data gurus. So don't try and make a cute new title just so you can be hip and find all those people out there. At the end of the day, they're software developers, they're software engineers, they're machine learning engineers, they're AI engineers, and they're learning those models, and that's what they're called. So not a cute title. And let's find somebody, if they happen to work in New York and your company's in California, is there an option that the best person for your company could be there and remote in? And if they had to come into a meeting, then we do that. So it's breaking down these mental barriers that companies, heaven forbid we get too educated as to what's happening in the marketplace. And everybody says this is the advice to take. Run your company. And if people are happy, let's keep them happy. And then who do they know that would be able to belong? So super long-winded answer, sorry. Yeah. 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 I want you to know, and the audience to know, that I am an AI advocate. I am loving it. This is what we do. Now, we created AI, so it doesn't tell me what to do. I tell it what to do. And so it is an incredible, incredible tool for large tasks and going through things so much faster than I could, or any Excel spreadsheet that I can put together. So I use it on front end for large tasks and sorting and massaging and learning from previous searches. Not every single Python developer has the exact same skills in the same market with the same industry. So I use it most definitely. And I use it as for speaking, or when I put something out into the marketplace to try and educate the employers, I'll let it do a rough draft. I mean, what a wonderful editor. Love it. But it's not Peter Heyer. It's my assistant doing my assistant work. And so you may find this extremely funny, and I don't know if the audience will, but a recruiting company reached out to me and said, Peter, would you be interested in this XYZ role? I said, well, sure, let's talk about it. And no longer did I say that, then I got a phone call the next day. And it was Libby, the AI recruiter. And I said, oh, this is going to be fun. So I chatted with the bot. They actually had built in behavioral questions. And I said, this is not going to be, they aren't going to be able to understand. And here's the problem, people. So if your audience doesn't get anything, artificial intelligence can't look me in the eye. It can't see the passion that I have for this industry, the passion that I want to help companies. Let's do it right. Let's get the right people. So after my conversation with Libby, and she tried to skirt the money issue, and so we talked about that. Yeah, happy. Well, apparently, the next day I did so well that I got a call said, let's talk about this. And I said, oh my goodness. So all Libby was doing was they took it just like a Zoom interview or anything else. They took all the data from it, matched it against their requisition. Well, this guy's the fit. And so I caution people, I love AI and I use it as it was supposed to be designed to make things so much more efficient. And it is. But it's not going to run my spaceship. It's not going to be the HAL 9000. So, so yeah, 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 yeah. Super, no, it's super efficient in that. And we all have clients that are set on, look, we do have a hybrid model, so I want anyone that's going to work with me, they got to live within 50 miles because I want them to be able to get to the office. Okay, that's great. So we do have a location issue. That's one. What we found is we're developing software. If they don't have C+, they just aren't going to be able to understand our tech stack. Okay, great. And they must know Python. And we've really had trouble with anyone who doesn't understand the transportation industry. So when we have hard set rules, yeah, you can go through your 400 or 1,000. Okay, let's get it down. Let's get it down to 100 or 50. And then we send out questionnaires or other qualifiers. And so, yeah, we get to a massage, the people that are truly the right fit. And those are the people that get the call from the human saying, tell me, what's your situation? And we go from there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've got it. And I love it because it's super efficient. We all know that there's so much outreach in the world, whether it's LinkedIn or wherever, and everyone's getting hammered by emails and phone calls. And so we do it, but we also want to do it to keep in touch, and it has to be authentic. If I haven't seen what I'm going to email out to Amisha, then shame on me. If she gets something that says, Peter, I haven't talked to you in 5 years, what are you doing? I'm just reaching out saying, hey, this is a way faster than Peter can type out an email. But I wanted to let you know, I wanted to stay in touch. I've got something going on I want you to know about. So it's another very efficient way for me to stay in touch with people because sometimes we all get busy. Oh, I want to think that's my differentiator is because I'm human and I do things. And my experience tells me the feedback that I'm getting is people on the other side of this computer appreciate that. They want to talk to a human. They want to know my heart. They want to know my passion. They want to know that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Oh gosh, I'm so glad you asked that question. It's letting them know that there are individuals that possess the skill and the drive and some of the intangibles that they don't put on the job description. And so, heaven forbid, if we're looking for somebody in this industry and there's somebody over here with this industry, it may shed more light to your company having a different point of view that makes it look like something else. So it's always educating my clients, not saying that we aren't going to find the talent that they want. It's will you. So it's opening up my clients' eyes to see there's a big rainbow of talent out there. And don't get terribly set. And yes, have you ever, whether the diversity question comes in or not, I use diversity all the time. I look for client culture and skill set, and could they learn your industry or bring in a new perspective to that? And then I look at, yeah, could they be on a board? Yeah, but tell me why. Why are they on a board? Maybe they could be part of that 15,000 that get laid off from Amazon. Sure, not their fault. Great. But they also could be there for a number of different reasons. So I try not to prejudge, but generally I'm going to go look for competitors in the industry, who's really side by side with my client, and I ask them, would you want somebody from ABC Company? Is that who's kicking your tail, or would you think they would want to come over? So I always ask that question. It's always, like a sports analogy. Do you want the number one hitter? Do you want the, star quarterback? And so I'll look at those parameters first, and then I'm always looking for passive talent, because they can they can post and pray like anybody else on their own. They didn't pay me to come in and post a job. They came in, they asked me to come in and help them find out what's not working, why are people leaving, or what would make somebody stick. And that's what I help them with. And being able to bring that individual from their nice, cozy, I'm happy, life's wonderful, to life could be better? What? What? So I always love it because it's a win-win. The client wins and the candidate wins because they're getting new exposure. They're getting growth opportunities. They're getting a new environment. And that's always, that's perfection. Yeah. I'm pretty persuasive. I like to think I'm super charming, and persistent, because anybody who's working doesn't need it, and they're probably already getting pinged by other opportunities, right? And so I just want to try and understand who that candidate is. What makes them tick? Are they, a family person? Do we start with that? Say, hey, my client does a lot of this. Is that cool? Is it a growth? Are they already a master's degree, a PhD? Are they already a fellow somewhere? And so growth may not be the carrot that brings them over, but it's a lot of persistence. It's, every avenue, whether it's phone call, whether it's email, whether it's texting, whether it's, hey, I know somebody at the company, maybe they can tap them on the shoulder. And many times the people that are passive, sometimes I don't want to think of myself as passive aggressive, but I could always tell if I told them, Misha, you know what? I know you're killing it with this company and you're doing so many things. What if I had something that could be better? My guess would be you would at least listen for a moment. And that's all I want. I just give me a moment. If it makes sense, great. If you can tell me why it doesn't, then God bless you. You're awesome, and go live your life and kill it professionally. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, I mean, it never stops. You have to have a staff of 100, and 47 AI bots doing all the things. I try and make it as authentic as I can. I do post, to LinkedIn, because that's where most of my people. When LinkedIn used to be literally the electronic Rolodex, where I could call you and say, hey, I haven't chatted in a year. It's, what are you doing? So you do that because that's where some of the audience is. All the socials. I don't have my TikTok channel, dialed up yet, but I'm sure I will. I'll find a dance or something. But it's trying to stay in touch with all the people all the time, trying to educate, to let companies know there is a different way, and it can really be satisfactory and excellent. It doesn't have to be, mashed potatoes. It can be gravy and, flambe. It's just being authentic. And I'm not all things to all people. Some people love it, some people don't, and that's okay. I just want to be able to let them know there's a different way if they want to do it. It's in my career, I have never hired somebody for a client that they've had to replace, which tells me that I have a guarantee. I've never had to exercise my guarantee. Well, and hopefully that lets people know I'm not just sitting here pushing buttons hoping magic happens. I'm doing the hard work trying to understand what's at this person's core. And are they giving me the full scoop? Because everyone knows there's just a little bit of fudge factor, and no matter who you're talking to or what they're saying. And so it's trying to just cut through the layers and let's just be honest with one another. And it may take a couple of conversations for that to happen. There's so much noise. It has to be. There's email, there's posts on social, there's texting, there's these kind of opportunities for people to just say, hey, this is what I do. If you want some, let's talk. And if it's great, that's wonderful. But if you went away with 30 years of experience in recruiting, maybe you get a tip or two that you can use. Great. I always I always want to think that all of those things are working perfectly, but in fact that's never the case. It's always who's on my calendar and why. And if they aren't, why? So is it a bottleneck? Is it a process? Is our whatever campaigns we're running for whatever market, is that not working? And what do we need to change or switch? So it's always the same market, the same marketing. Do we have the right funnel of people coming in, and are we screening them or sending them what they want the way they want it? Maybe they don't want LinkedIn posts. Maybe they don't want invites. Maybe they don't want emails. And the market's, gosh, so much noise. So much noise. And I don't want to try and contribute. I want to just get in there, knock on the door. Hey, I saw you're hiring. You've been hiring for 6 weeks. You've been hiring. Do you want to, is something, you want to try something different, or at least here? No? Okay, keep going. Knock it out of the park, pal. Yeah. So we haven't adopted AI. We really love the tool. I love the tool when we can integrate so many different parts of the process. So the emails, not only to candidates, hey, you got the job or you're interviewing now, but that same email system to reach out to potential new candidates, the ones that I don't have and haven't talked to, and clients. And so a CRM that's on automation, are we talking to the right, do we have right campaigns going on in the right market sectors? That seems to be the majority of it. And it's I sometimes can have a different sense of urgency than the rest of the world. Shoot, aim, fire, ready. So I want to know how something, but it takes a little while for these processes to vet out, and then we have to look at the data and what's working and what's not. And so the jury's still out on, I'm trying a couple of different campaigns to see how those are working. And I just don't have enough data fast enough. But it's always going to be very similar. It's always, I've got to reach out to somebody, email or phone or text, right? Or they see, invite to a conversation or a webinar or something to have a conversation. That's what it is. And it's, at the end of the day, it's where are you getting your data? Is it reliable? And, if it's anything on LinkedIn, what do they have? 850 million? And so what part of that equation, if you're reaching out to an audience that's on LinkedIn, is getting it from every other source, right? So mine plus the 18,000 other recruiting firms that are out in the world are reaching out to them as well. Yeah, right. And it's the thing that's kind of fun, and the jury's not back yet, but it is neat that I have a large enough network that I'm continuing to infiltrate some of those back in and going out to the marketplace and looking for new stuff. So it's always sort of a mixture and what's converting and what's not. And there's so many factors, as you know, in this industry. Is it timing? It seems like it's always timing. Never on a Monday, never on a Friday. You've got 3 days where you have an audience. You got about a 4-hour window of when they'll be receptive. Um, and so are there other channels, and it's always what's the copy? If it doesn't get them in the first sentence, you're done, right? Yeah, yeah. if it's not the subject and the first, and so I do really enjoy. I get flooded with with emails, and I will reach back out even though I may not have a need. If somebody has something clever or it made me stop, then I'll let them know. Good job. So, oh yeah, it's. Do I have to send out 10,000 to get an appointment a day? Or, and that's an audience problem, I think. I think that's a focused area where it's always who needs, at the end of the day, I want to take a look and say, you know what? There are 50 companies that need me. Where are they? AI hadn't figured that out yet. I mean, they're going to give me some guesses based on whatever data I put in. And so, yeah, for me, it's always consistency. It's how many are we sending out? How many are getting opened? How many are going to junk? Right? Those kind of metrics I look at. And then I always love hearing different opinions on, in this industry. What's a good conversion rate? So if they aren't going to junk and they're being open, but they aren't replying, do we have a message issue? So those are the things. It's how many are going out, how many are replying, and then how many ticks, right? Is it 4? Is it 7? Is it 21? The sequence equation of what do we do to, nurture somebody through without hitting them over the head like a used car salesman. And I love used cars. Don't get me wrong. I love, but I don't want that perception. So it's always output, conversion being read. And if it's a slower cycle, then that's all I want to know. That's okay. But of the ones that are coming back, are we getting appointments? Do they want to talk? Have we, for me, Amisha, at the end of the day, have we hit the pain point of they're hurting? They aren't finding the talent. And am I finding them? So whatever, and I haven't perfected that equation yet. It's just a matter of who are they, where are they, how fast can I get to them? It's sort of like I want to be sort of a employment EMT going in and patching up what's broken. Yeah, I have a team. I have a team that does it, and we'll sit down and have little powwows. We'll talk about the technology. What do we need to physically tweak? And there's a great deal that does go into AI. If you give it the wrong, don't exit at the third exit, exit at the first exit, those kinds of things, and your campaigns can get screwed up and things like that. And then it doesn't go to the right audience. And then you look foolish because you've sent something to Amisha that should have gone to Joe and it was the wrong one, and Amisha's the candidate, not the CEO. So those things, and it doesn't happen often, but it happens, right? So we want to. So I want to say CEO, founder, coach, mentor, but I want to know what's going on, and then sometimes I say, here's the directive, let's try this and go. I want to empower and give that the option to do that. And then if it didn't work, and we have little powwows weekly, and see what's happening. Yeah. And I don't know what that percentage is, to be honest with you. Yeah. What I want to say, for the next 6 months, I want to say 80-20 new client and 20 on nurturing. Um, and that's just a consistency model. And, it's always funny as we hit this end of year, um, the holiday, is an interesting prospect because people have families, people have lives, and they're scattered. So this is sometimes not always the most accurate data we're getting at this point. But I want to be there and be able to help out. But I would say 60, 70, 80% probably focus on new clients and then nurture the rest. Yeah. Um, Having a new client on the books or two new clients every day, being able to go out and help a company and not have as many calls with companies that that aren't companies. They're simply selling a solution. And I said, okay, that's great, love it, but it's the ability for me to reach out to those companies that really, in the holiday season, if they don't deliver by this week or next week, Christmas week's coming, and then by the 30th, they're in trouble. They're gonna get the axe. They're gonna get a disciplinary. They're gonna get whatever. That's what my goal would be the end of this year, and helping companies in January. Let's fix it, and it can be fixed. Yeah, I've said so many of my posts in the past have been, let's get ready in the fourth quarter, which should have started September, but that doesn't. I've had historic, phenomenal Novembers, sometimes, and then yeah, literally, the Christmas season pretty much shuts down after the 15th because everybody's doing whatever. And then is everybody back from vacation on January 2nd? No. So about January 10th, they're ready to do business. And so it's just, that's the world we live in. And so I don't want to ever be the pushy guy, but I want to let them know there's a different way and a better way. And it doesn't have to take forever, meaning that there are people that are ready to make career decisions by the 30th and be ready to start on the 1st, or heaven forbid, start on December 30th. Those happen, and it can happen. So, yeah, my statement would be, if you are a company in any prospect, whether you're a Fortune 50 or you're a Fortune 2000, that your number one asset is your people. So treat them with kit gloves, not only the rest of this year because it's the holidays, but all the time. And you really should have a higher expectation when it comes to hiring. It should be your number one priority. Machines are not running the world yet, and that there are ways to go look for talent that's not looking for your company. I know how to do that. I apparently am on a lot of social media, but my email is peter@higherexpectations.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Website is higherexpectations.com. And yeah, I'm pretty available. LinkedIn and website and all the socials, all the X's and Instas and Facebooks of the world. And I'll work on the TikTok because that's going to be a big deal. Well, thank you. I am honored to be invited. Thank you.